Now, for a video titled How I Got Masters in 6 Months, you might assume that this story starts 6 months ago, in December. However, the true start of this story is August 2023, aka my first month in college. This is when I tried out for my school's iRacing team. I didn't have any expectations of actually making it, so you can imagine my surprise and joy when I got the email saying that I made the team. Skip a year to August 2024. At this point, I have become a top 10 collegiate sim racer in the nation, and I wanted to get more involved with my school's esports program. One thing that really piqued my interest my first year in college was our casters. The college I go to, Ball State University, has a very well-developed production crew, and they put on multiple streams a week. The reason I really wanted to get involved in this is because in high school I did a lot of musicals, and I kind of missed that aspect of public speaking and talking in front of people. So that year I decided to try out to become an esports caster for my school, and just like with sim racing, I also got accepted to the team. However, there was one big problem. Ball State regularly streams 4 game titles, and iRacing is none of them. The 2 in the fall are Valorant and Rocket League. Now, I had a huge Valorant addiction over the past summer, so I definitely knew enough about the game to cast it at a collegiate level. Rocket League is a bit of a different story because I have only played the game a little and definitely did not know any of the strategies used in high-level play. However, at the end of the day, it's car soccer. Casting it is not very difficult. Now, with the fall season coming to an end, it's time for the spring semester. The games Ball State casts now are League of Legends and Overwatch 2. Now, League is an incredibly complex game, but I had multiple spring breaks where I got obsessed with it, so I knew enough about the game to deliver a decent play-by-play cast. But now we get to the game I had never played seriously before. A game I knew very, very little about. My only experience with it was one-tricking soldier for a spring games tournament that Ball State Esports puts on. This is a tournament where all the varsity players and production members draft teams and play against each other in a plethora of different video games. Anyways, there's a pretty big difference between when I played in that tournament and when I truly started in December. An entire summer of grinding Valorant and aim trainers. I also knew the meta from watching streams last spring of our team playing. So when I got into the game, I knew that I wanted to learn and main Sojourn. When I first started, I would play with my friend Eric on one of his alt accounts. He's on our Overwatch B roster, by the way. And in between games, we would 1v1 in a TXCXX, and I would get shit on. Like, not even close, just absolutely clobbered. He said, "You're probably in one of the worst movement states to be in, because you know enough to be predictable, but you don't know enough to get away from the predictability." Anyways, what I had to do was improve my movement, my aim, and learn how to sync those two together. For this, he brought one of his close friends to coach me. You might know him as a Tracer Blink Spot guy, but I know him as Karsu. Now, Karsu has some of the best tracking I've ever seen in this game. Here are some of his clips to show you what I mean. I remember in one of our first training sessions, we did a Cassidy Vamp 1v1. That's just where every time you deal damage, you gain a little bit of health, and that's done to extend the length of the 1v1s to just, even it out a little bit, make it more skilled. And in this session, we probably did around 120 different 1v1s, and I won 10 of them. But one of my main beliefs is that the quickest way to improve is to get dominated by people who are much better than you, and to learn from every mistake you make during that time. When I would die, I would think back to what I did wrong, or what strategy I could try to use and kill him. These sessions really helped me learn how to think about mechanics and how I need to adjust what I do based on who I am going against. This was a huge hurdle that I would have to cross on my journey to Masters. However, there is one still big change that has not occurred yet. A bit of a spoiler, but I hit Masters as a flex support player, not as a Sojourn main. So where does that change occur? Well, I wanted to play Overwatch with one of my very close friends who also happens to be on our Valorant team. This guy's name is Fraggleton and has played Sentinel for multiple semi-pro teams in Val. Anyways, by the time we wanted to play together, my DPS rank had already reached mid-plat, which was out of range of his rank, which I believe was high silver at the time. This forced me to try and play a different role. And then I remembered that just a couple days ago, I watched some Juno gameplay and thought that it looked fun and different. So I decided that I would queue support with him and play Juno. Let me just say, I instantly fell in love with her, and in more ways than one, if you know what I mean. Her movement was so much fun, being able to double jump, float, use her glide boots to fly around at max speed. I knew that I wanted to play more Juno and stay away from Sojourn. However, up until that point, I had only ever played DPS and been coached by DPS players. So I turned to another one of my very close friends for coaching, Alphabet. Now, when it comes to Juno and this playstyle of support, it does not get much better than Alphabet. He is the king of staying alive and keeping his team alive. Matter of fact, it was during this time when he hit champ and was consistently ending seasons top 100. He gave me a lot of good advice on how to use my cooldowns on Juno and how to play my cover title to keep me alive. Now, when you're playing Juno, you're one of the most valuable kills that the enemy team can get. Because of this, you you will be highly targeted and it is vital that you stay alive. With this information, I was able to finish Season 13 Plat 4 with the peak in Plat 1. I went on a crazy losing streak at the end of the season. Season 14 started during Ball State's winter break, and during break I was still heavily invested in learning Juno, but she started getting boring. Over time, her interesting movement mechanics stalled out, and I found myself uninterested in playing behind my entire team just holding left click on my tank. That's when my mom begrudgingly agreed to watch some Overwatch cinematics with me. I showed her all of the staples: The Last Bastion, Recall, Hero, Rise and Shine, and most importantly, Kiriko. When we got done watching that one, she said, "She's a badass, you should play her." So the next day when I logged onto the game, I started learning Kiriko. When I first started playing her, I used the same playstyle that I learned on Juno: stay back, heal, and live. But here's the thing about Kiriko. Her having 100 damage on her left click gives her so many other ways to find value. And yes, I know her kunai starts binding to her right click, but no sane person plays Kiriko that way, so I will refer to her damage on her left click and her healing on her right click. A lot of Season 14 was me trying to figure out how I can get the most of her damage and utility by playing aggressive. I did a shit ton of limit testing and just seeing how much I can get away with. This is also when I started scrimming with the team that Eric and Carson were a part of. In these scrims, I could put into practice the skills I've been learning in my ranked games. These scrims are a great way to practice team play in my comms. Unfortunately, when I first started scrimming, I was very nervous and playing with very low confidence. We were scrimming way above a plat level, so I was easily the worst player in each lobby. Here are some early scrim clips to show you how awful I was. Anyways, this season I went through a big learning curve. Over the course of it, I played 30 hours on Juno, 90 hours on Kiriko, and ended Diamond 3. This season, I did not learn anything super advanced or difficult, but I knew enough about the game to be able to hold a respectable mid-diamond rank. However, the hardest part is yet to come, because making that jump to Masters will be the highest hurdle so far. What makes the challenge even tougher is that Season 15 started off with a rank reset, and the game placed me all the way down in Plat 3, so all that hard work I did in Season 14 was essentially just wiped away. Except, it wasn't. Even though I had lost the rank, I did not lose the skills I had learned. So by the end of the season, I was able to climb all the way back up to Diamond 3, and even finish at Diamond 2. But now we get to the start of Season 16, and the end of my spring semester at college. If you recall, this journey started all the way back in December, so now that we are approaching May, this is the season that I wanted to finish Masters. Now, even though I was only 200 SR away, this was a very hard 200 SR to get, and I will really have to refine and stylize my gameplay if I want to reach it. Or I could just get on a lucky winning streak at the start of the season and hit Masters 4. Whoa, video's over, I hit Masters! But something didn't feel right. I didn't feel like a Masters player. I didn't feel like I deserved to be there, and as I kept queuing, this showed. Over the next few weeks, I dropped all the way back to Diamond 3. I had lost my confidence, I was playing scared, I was missing something. And this is where Bang finally comes in. Bang is the other flex support on my team who is astronomically better than me. He plays Zenyatta in ways Blizzard didn't even know was possible. And his playstyle? The complete opposite from Alphabet's. Instead of staying alive and keeping his team alive, he dies and lets his team die. Nah, I'm just kidding. He flanks and assassinates. If he dies for it, then he most likely got out enough resources for his team to clean up. It is a very risky playstyle, but it can find so much value if done correctly. Now, Bang has been coaching me for a lot of my journey to Masters, but it was at this point where what he said spoke to me the most. He would watch one of my VODs and pinpoint every single second I am not doing anything. He made a point to stop healing my full health teammates and go do damage. Kiriko's TP allows her to push up before a fight begins, find some poke damage, and then TP back to her team in time for the fight. This balance is what I was missing. Previously, I was either sitting back and heal botting or full flanking every fight and letting my team die. But this balance of damage, TP back, heal was not something I had done much in the past. This was the key. This was the last skill I had to learn to finish a season Masters. So, starting from D3, I started practicing this new playstyle. I was climbing. Not quick, but I was gaining rank. But I'm on a time limit. My family is going on vacation soon and I won't be back before the season ends. So if I wanted to end Masters, I had to do it before I left for vacation or I just won't have time. But the last day before I leave, I started the day D1 22%. I had to go 4 games positive that day to meet my goal. Not an easy task at all. But using what everyone has taught me, Eric, Karsu, Alphabet, Droid, Hero, Bang, I sat down for my last day and got to work. One game after another, I was winning. Win after win after win. Until I was 1 game off of Masters. But, you know the saying. What goes up must come down. I then lost my next 3 games. Back to square one. 6 games played, 2 hours behind me, and nothing to show for it. I needed to take a break and come back to the game later. So that's what I did. And when I got back, I had a new game plan. In between games, I will listen to soothing music and close my eyes. I realized that I was getting jittery. I had to relax in between games to try and calm my muscles. With this new strategy in mind, I got back to playing and won 4 in a row. I did it. After only 6 months, I will be ending Season 16 as a Masters player. And I could not have done it without the help from my amazing friends and teammates that gave me coaching along the way. So, once again, another huge shout out to Eric, Karsu, Alphabet, Droid, Harrow, and Bang. And I guess the moral of the story is, if you also want to hit Masters in 6 months, you have to sim race for 7 years until you're good enough to make a collegiate iRacing team, then meet a bunch of really nice people who are good at Overwatch, force them to coach you, and then boom! Masters! As simple as that.